Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hi, welcome to Look Behind the Look. This is Tiffany. Thanks for joining me. Now listen, we celebrated International Women's Day this week. It was Tuesday, March 8th, but let's be honest, every day is Women's Day, right? Right. So for this episode, I wanted to celebrate two films that you probably don't know a lot about, but they are two indies that one was just at Sundance 2022, and they both star two strong women that are played by incredible actresses. For the first film, I spoke with Catherine Deriana. Catherine was the makeup department head for the fantastic film God's Country that just celebrated its premiere at Sundance. The film is about a strong woman, Sandra, who's played by Thandiewe Newton, and she's defending herself and her home against these blatant acts of racism. The movie is really intense, really special. I hope you can see it. What's interesting about Catherine, besides her infectious enthusiasm and positive spirit, that's definitely there, is her story about getting her big break on this film right where she was living. And she was living in Montana. So the lesson is there, folks. It can happen anywhere. Be ready for your big break. For the second film, A Mouthful of Air, I talked to makeup department head Cynthia O'Rourke. She designed a beautifully subtle look for Amanda Seyfried, who plays Julie, a young New York City mother and children's book author, actually. She's been struggling with postpartum depression, and this is a really relatable topic, obviously, and something that's not talked about a lot in films, so I really wanted to bring attention to this film, A Mouthful of Air. Cynthia and I are going to talk about the very glamorous world of indie film and the challenges and the reasons why she chose this very special project. So enjoy.
Man, we're not going to put a bolt in anyone's house or shoot anybody's cow.
I didn't think you were.
Yeah, but you're telling me you want us to walk 15 miles in the snow.
That's not what I said, and I'm not telling you to do anything. All I'm saying is before you park on someone's property, you have to ask.
Okay. Hi, Kat. Here I am with Kat. Do you prefer Kat or Catherine?
I do go by Kat, yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you. So I just watched this movie last night. So
Isn't it powerful?
The
my
state of mind
gosh.
I'm in.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I have so many questions about the film and what it must have been like to be a part of that, because it was probably so intense. So we're talking about God's Country.
Yeah.
And it's at Sundance, and the premiere was last night.
It was Sunday night.
Sunday night. Okay. And we're talking 2 days after the premiere. And so are you in Sundance right now? Is that where you're coming in from?
So I'm actually in Montana right now.
Are you?
I'm on a film. Yeah, I'm heading the hair department for this film. So I was originally supposed to fly out for Utah, and then they canceled in person. So I just did everything virtually.
You know, we have the same story. We were going to go out too, and then I said, I just have a bad feeling that they're going to go virtual, and then they did. And so, how did that feel? Were you disappointed or?
Oh gosh, I was so disappointed because so I've done 11 films in this last 2 years, but this is the first one that's premiered. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was literally like the first time I'm seeing my name in credits. Like that was this experience for me. So it was very like surreal. And, even though I was just in my hotel by myself chilling, it was fine too, because I just got to really like take it in. But yeah, so I'm in Montana, and literally I've lived here for 5 years, but I'm in between Michigan and here now. So this movie was like powerful to me on so many levels. Like it was so accurate. So like I was shocked when I read the script when they first gave it to me, because I was like, how did you guys like channel this? And like for it to be Montana too, it was just like, wow, rural America is very, very different.
Yeah. You live in Montana?
I do. I'm split between Montana and Michigan.
Oh my God. Okay. And then but the fact that you've done 11 movies in 2 years being a Montana resident is just mind blowing to me. So
It
what's going
was
on in
Montana
Montana?
put me on, girl.
I'm dying.
After all these years, Montana of all places put me on in the film game.
This is really something. Okay. So everything's coming to Montana or
Yeah,
no?
so many things are
They
coming to
are.
Montana because the pandemic. Because with a lot of films,
Okay.
depending on what they're shooting, you can find locations just about anywhere. But then we have the surge of kind of the Western storytelling. So it's just kind of this beautiful
Right. That's so
coupling
true.
of both, but they can shoot in a warehouse, in a house, anywhere, right? So they were like, well, let's get the heck away from like all the COVID. And so it was just like the destiny, to be honest with you, I'll tell you.
I mean,
And it has
truly,
been wild.
I remember looking at that map and seeing that there were like 8 cases in Montana for so long. And I mean, I remember Kelly Clarkson went there to hide for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's in Yellowstone Club. That's just right there in Big Sky. There's a lot of Hollywood folks up there too, because it's gorgeous out here. It's truly stunning. It is,
Of course. Wow. Okay. So how did this project find you? Now, first of all, the movie it only has one woman. I mean, it really has 4 people in it, basically. I mean, maybe a couple sprinkled in there at the end, and then in the professor meetings, there were a couple people here and there. But how many days did you guys shoot?
So they actually, I came on in the second half. So they had started shooting in 2019, and COVID hit.
I see.
So Julian, he didn't know if this project would ever, him and the team, they didn't know if it would ever get finished, or, if it would ever see the day of light,
Wow.
So I came on in the second half because the original gal that had headed makeup before, she, couldn't continue. So it truly did kind of find me, to be honest with you. I had a couple people that I had been working with because I had done about 4 films at this point, and they were like, oh my gosh, we have the perfect girl. And she's like a Black girl of all things. Like she can like actually do, textured hair and all this stuff. And they were like, well, heck yeah, like bring her on. Are you kidding me? Like in Montana, she's probably the only one.
Right.
So, so I came on and, it was basically like establishing looks from there out. I really did my first special effects work. Like it was something that I knew how to do because of, color theory and these different things you learn about. But I had to do a lot of research for that, make sure it was accurate. You don't want to just have a random bruise, looking crazy. And so when I saw it on screen, I was like, oh my gosh, it just felt really good to, kind of like, because it's all about challenging yourself in this industry, and, I want things to be accurate. I want them to be, so I've just always challenged myself in that way in this industry. I don't just take on jobs that I can't do and then try and
figure it out.
You know what I mean? So, it was really, really cool. And they called me onto it and ended up kind of figuring out like where to go from there. So super chaotic.
Were you
I'm
so sorry. Were you intimidated at all having to pick up looks that were you then establishing the looks, or had they been established?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Were you establishing the looks, or were they already established?
So there were a few that I had to recreate, which, in this industry, we get people who come to your salon and they're like, I want this look. And so I always tell them, I'm not a robot.
Yeah.
I can definitely use this as inspiration, but you learn to mimic a lot of things, right? Yeah. So I did. And then I was very fortunate that a lot of things hadn't been established yet. But it was definitely wild because you come on and it's like they're still trying to, figure out like how to get back in the flow of things. And then characters had changed. Characters had been, replaced because people had other projects they had to go on, right?
Of course.
So, and on one hand, I was like completely recreating things. And then on one hand, I was trying to look at like the continuity and just recreate.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. But I'm cool with the chaos, to be honest with you. I'm used to it.
Sometimes it's kind of comforting, right? You're like,
right. Yeah.
I know. Cause if there's too much time to think, you can make yourself go crazy and
100%.
start to doubt yourself.
Like, just let me keep moving.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now it's such an intimate film and it's so disturbing. And I don't want to scare anybody from seeing it, disturbing in a good way. It's really
challenging,
so
right?
challenging. And, she comes in and she's not wanted. And, it's a thriller. Would you call it a thriller?
Yeah, no, for sure. I would.
Okay. Yes. I was like, I was thinking it was a drama, but it's pretty scary at the end. And I was so worried.
The buildup is pretty awesome.
My gosh. Oh my gosh. I was like, what? Literally, I was sitting with popcorn in my bed.
Yes.
Watching it. I was like nervous. So the intimacy on the set, first of all, I wanted to ask you, did you all have to go to the mountaintop on that cold day and bury those ashes? How far up did you go?
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to films, sometimes we are in some very weird scenes, or sets. Yeah. Like there's a frozen lake scene in this one that I'm doing right now. Like you got to do some things that you would never really think. But with that one, I wasn't there for that. But I have had those experiences where like you have to climb up into some stuff. And
oh my God. I said to my husband, I was like, oh no, I just want to ask her about that day. She got the call sheet that said 4 a.m. mountaintop.
No, for real. Yeah, we just had one similar to that. It's like, bring your layers. I've got my refrigerator, girl,
No. Oh my God. I would just be like, I have COVID. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stay home.
Got some symptoms.
Yeah. Got some symptoms here.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. But the intimacy on the set and the subject matter that you're dealing with, were they long hours? Did you ever feel like this is too much? What was the mood like on set?
I mean, there were certain days where like, for the talent themselves, this is a very intense day. You have to get a sense of, when you're dealing with thespians, like, I have a background in theater and stuff like that, but when you have to go to some places, like you have to kind of be like, you're doing their makeup and their hair, but you just kind of let them be in their moment. And so, yeah, I got to see a lot of very, very cool technique. And I also got to see kind of like, because you go from one scene to another. So you might be going from an intense scene back to like, something else, and I mean, watching Thandiewe was like an incredible experience. I mean, it was life-changing for me because she's just so incredibly talented, but she goes there, I think she really, really allowed herself to be Sandra, which was such a powerful thing for Black women, especially Black women who do live in areas where like, 2022 people are aware, but in some areas it's like they don't know and they don't believe that it's like that for people.
Right. That is so true. They don't know about the nooks and crannies and what someone else might be going 100%. Through in that rural
it's not like that.
I know. I don't think like that, so nobody else thinks like that.
Yeah, which is worse. I'd rather have someone who is ignorant, but like they're open to learning than someone who's like, I ain't like that. What are you talking about?
So true. Yeah, like they have never heard of this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So what was the biggest challenge of this particular project?
I would say just kind of coming on and having to fill in some of the gaps, trying to figure out who was my best point of contact. There were days where we're switching up scenes and, they had to drop some scenes, for the sake of getting the film made. And so, yeah, it was a very small team too. Shout out to my girl, Christina Fabian, because she was amazing. But it was Christina a very small team. Christina was hair and makeup. Like she would do, some of the makeup and hair, but she was my key on this. Amazing. And just incredible. And she, it was like, we were really just kind of having to pick up and she had worked with her other head of department and stuff. So she was just such a good asset for me. But, even kind of going through and like making record of like the continuity before and like all the new stuff, the extras, all that stuff. So yeah, it definitely took some time management, some organization skills, but yeah.
Yeah, what people don't really understand about the makeup department head and the hair department head is how much admin there really is, you know, and how much paper. I mean, back in the day, what you had a ring of Polaroids.
Yeah. Some people are still old school, you know, like I actually prefer the old school way, because now it's like, you know, you're trying to do the markup and add the scenes. I can't wrap my head around it. Like I do it, but it's just not.
What's your favorite way to keep track? What is your...
I like my label maker. Okay. I like my, you know, my binder. Yep. I like to have my sheets of paper and print out everything with my little printer for my laptop. That is like, because I like to physically see it, because there's a difference between scrolling, you know.
I totally
but
agree.
I've worked under other heads where they're like, look, I just like to use this, and I'm like, cool, I'll do whatever, you know. I respect the hierarchy, you know, do your thing, but it's just not the same, girl.
Oh my God. I know. I'm very tactile too. And who doesn't want to keep a binder for life and like
exactly
show it to your kids? Yeah.
For real.
What was the best day that you guys had? Do you remember? What was a day that you were like, oh, I'm not going to forget this?
Oh, for me, some of the conversations I got to have with Thandiewe, I mean, for me, having been at this industry for so long, she was just so encouraging. I mean, she's an incredible woman. And there were so many life-changing nuggets in there, girl, I can't even tell you.
I can only imagine, because I'm terrified of her. She is so intense. And I'm like, this woman, oh my gosh, like I would want to be on my very best behavior. I feel like she would school me in
and she's actually the sweetest thing ever. You know, she is the sweetest person I've ever encountered, not just in this industry, like genuinely. She's an
so intelligent,
strong,
we said at the same time,
you know, woman with such a heart of gold. I mean, she really goes out of her way to make you feel good. And I'm like, listen, woman, I'm working for you. Like, you sit down.
Amazing. She really gave it her all. And I saw all her support for the film online and everything. So, I mean, she's really behind this project, obviously. I wanted to talk, we were talking earlier, I want to hear your origin story. And I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier, and we've touched on it since I started recording about, you know, you dividing your time between Montana and Michigan. How did this all start? What is the story?
I ended up, you know, going to college. Like every single one of my siblings were supposed to go to college and get a degree. My dad was education. So to, you know, his surprise, when I said I was going to go to cosmetology school, it did not go over well.
Wait,
not at all.
Did the others go to college at all?
I'm done with you. Yeah, like he was like done. Like he was like, and I was like, Dad, I just don't love it. Like I tried to make college work for me, because I said, okay, I'll minor in musical theater, and I'll, you know, he was like, no, you got to get a real degree. And so I decided that in order for me to pursue my dreams, I had to figure out how to make money. So that's why I ended up going to that Aveda Institute at first, in Ann Arbor, and ended up, you know, I always loved hair and makeup. Like I was always playing with it and doing everybody's hair and all that. And, you know, my mom always called me her little beautician. But it just wasn't what the goal and the plan was for the Crawford family. You know, he was like, how else can I set you up in America if you don't have a degree in like business or like something, you know?
This is not in my puzzle that
like he envisioned like a mom and pop shop. And I kept trying to tell him Aveda is international.
Oh, totally.
It's high end. It's, you know, and I definitely had like a plan behind it, but he was like, no.
He pictured like with the spoolie, the barber shop, like spoolie.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. He was like definitely thinking of the old school, like, you know, you walk in and like none of the chairs match, and like, you know, somebody's braiding someone's hair and a crying baby. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, no. So that's kind of where I got my start. And, you know, I ended up starting freelance and working for beauty brands in Michigan. I wanted to know more makeup artistry. I wanted to dive into that. And that kind of started my journey. So when I'm in Michigan, I do freelance for Estee Lauder right now. And then I book a lot of movies in Montana. So I just come back and forth because I have a son. Yeah. And
how old's your
his
son?
dad lives in Montana. He's 3. Yes.
Oh, that is the best age. I miss that
He's
age.
amazing. He's amazing. And he just loves, mama's doing her thing. And I just want him I want him to be set up for the future. And I also want him to know that you can do what you dream of doing, but you got to find the right education and like the growth, So yeah, it's interesting. I always talk to him like, mommy's getting on a plane, I'll be back. Or he'll come with me for,
how's that?
to be in Montana.
Do you bring him to
We
set?
just kind of go back and forth,
Yeah.
to Michigan, and we just kind of alternate.
Amazing.
But yeah,
and it makes him so flexible. I mean, as somebody who lived like this during the early years with our son, like it just makes him so
get it.
Totally. I mean,
that's amazing.
Everybody was always like, I can't believe you're taking him with you, and I was just like, I don't know what to say. There's no other way. Like, this is what we're doing. And the outcome being on the other side of it now is like, they're always, ready.
Yes.
for whatever. So what's next for you now? Are you on a film right now? Yes.
Yeah. So I've got 2 more weeks left of this one. It's been intense. It's a period piece.
Oh.
So it's like, and it's gonna be really, really good. I think it's either a Paramount, I believe. It's like a full feature, and it's pretty cool. You guys will love it when it comes out. Yeah.
I'm excited. You probably can't.
But I got to do a lot of wig work on this one.
Okay.
Because I got to set and style color wigs, and for me, I've definitely put a lot, like this whole time, I've really worked on certain facets of this industry. I've put a lot of time invested in my education, and I love doing wig work. I love doing hair. My style of makeup is more like a bone mean. It's like a French technique that it focuses on like the blush tones of the skin, the natural highlights, stuff like that, and then you can build on it, right? So it's very good for camera ready. It's good for editorial stuff too. I think for me, I have always wanted to be like a beauty consultant in some form for makeup brands. I've always had a passion for it, and I've had a passion, as an entrepreneur myself, just kind of to build myself as a brand. And this is kind of where I'm at right now, is I'm finally, a brand, and I'm building on that. So I want to be able to do more, continue to travel and do things, and just kind of build up my repertoire, and get to a place where I'm like well known, so that I can charge more.
Yeah, I know I can tell you right now, you are going to get there real quick.
Yes. Thank you.
You are such a delight. And do you have any advice for people who are trying to break in? I feel like your advice, I can already tell what it's going to be, is just hold on tight and be ready.
Right. I always say this: if you get ready, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Right.
Oh, I like
that.
But
I always tell people to listen to your heart, because I've always known that I wanted to be in this industry. I've always known I wanted to do hair, makeup, and act. And I've actually did my first screen actress debut 6 months ago. Hey. So, it's like 4 lines, but that's a big deal, for me.
It is.
Yeah, so that's actually, they've got some press for that. Cinque Wells, Patricia Heaton. It's called Mending the Line. Yeah, and it was in Montana, girl. So, I'm just I was like, I'm going to retrain again, because when I started booking these movies, I said, this might be the time. And so I started taking some acting classes again.
Absolutely.
And again, just get ready, stay ready, and then that opportunity came about, and I said, heck yeah, I'm ready. I got my little backdrop. I can do my audition, just always I just feel like if you just plan for it, don't let people tell you what you can and can't do. Because so many people told me, oh, you can't do hair and makeup. I'm like, but I put the work in. And they'll be like, oh, you can't act too. I'm like, I want to act. That's, this is what I want to do.
That's a tough thing to wrestle with, is people putting those labels on you. I know.
100%, especially in this industry too. I mean, there's if you want to get to this level, you've got to do this or that. But I'll tell you what inspired me, because on my journey, I actually got to listen to the podcast you did with, is it John Feltlick?
Oh yeah.
John?
Yeah.
And I was like,
John
see,
like
there
Belt.
are people doing both. Come on.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh, I love
and he's from
that.
Detroit. I was like, get out. It would be the one I
Yes.
clicked on too. I was like, look at Destiny.
That is so serendipitous. That's
And it
so,
was just
yeah,
really cool to hear
John.
his story. I was like, it's true. I think like, now you need to be prepared to
Yeah,
take on both.
exactly.
But I think that, don't put yourself in a box, man, because we're all created to be exactly who we were created to be. And we can feel like we have to compare a lot, but we're only one. There's only one of me. There's only one of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely have things that we're going to be able to do that are for us and us alone. So I just try and keep that in mind on my journey.
Oh, you are such an inspiration. I just feel like so much better talking to you. I feel like I just had like a cheerleading session, and I'm the one interviewing you.
Girl, that's the goal of my life. That truly is my testimony. I really want to impact and influence change. I want people to feel encouraged, and any opportunity I can, I try and do it, and so I just feel like that's a part of my calling, so I'm grateful that you actually are getting that. You're feeling filled up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
I know this isn't the last time we're going to talk, because you are going to be a huge star in this industry. I just know it. And
I receive it.
Yes. And I'm so impressed with your work on this film, and I look forward to so much more. And I will speak to you very soon. I can feel it, Kat.
That sounds great.
Pinky Tinkerbank and her mommy were best friends.
Morning.
They went to the park together, played dress up together. Then one day, Pinky's mommy got sad. Every night before bed, Pinky would wish on a star.
Hello, Miss Davis. Can you tell me what happened?
But little by little,
Julie, hey, it's okay. It's okay.
the stars were starting to disappear from the sky.
I'm here with Cynthia O'Rourke, and we are talking about a beautiful film called A Mouthful of Air today. And I'm going to ask you about your whole career and my very favorite movie that you worked on. I want to hear more about that, which is We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is one of my favorite all-time movies. And so when I saw that in your resume, I was like, I can't wait to see.
That's an interesting choice of favorite all-time movie.
I know it's not a popular choice, but I just thought that movie was incredible. And like A Mouthful of Air, I think these movies about mental illness are I don't want to say that I don't want to reduce the movie to just being about postpartum depression. Obviously, it's a layered and beautiful film that it's very complicated, but talking about these things in films like postpartum depression are the way to normalize it, and to see people like Amanda, character, to see it like a movie star addressing this. My husband made a movie about postpartum as well, which is why I was super interested in this. It was called Fall to Rise, and it's the same, thing where people just think that you're hysterical and emotional, and they write it off. And it's a real problem that I'm so happy is being, portrayed. What brought you to the project, Cynthia?
Exactly that. I mean, a fellow makeup artist referred me to the job. But when I read the script, I was like, oh my God, this is a story that doesn't get told in a way. The script is really beautiful. Like just the reading of it was very beautiful. And it's this story that doesn't get told enough, and from a very honest perspective, that not the hysterical, crazy woman version of the story, but like a really genuine, like I have 2 kids. I've been there. I know friends of mine who've been there, and just really telling that emotional story and that arc in a very honest and genuine way. That's what drew me in. I was like, please sign me up for this project. Please hire me, because I want to be a part of like this beautiful film. I know it's going to be beautiful. And then when you know, actually get down to the script breakdown and you're like, oh, actually this makeup is going to be fun too. Like the story's great, but you know, it took place in the 90s. There's flashbacks, there's flash forwards, there's tattoos, there's scars, there's aging makeup, sorry. And I'm going to get to do all these fun little things, as well as just, you know, making Amanda look beautiful. And when I sat down, I tend to go on tangents, so please interrupt me if I
love tangents.
Too much.
Don't worry.
But when I finally sat down with the director, Amy Kopelman, and we were talking about, you know, the makeup, I had ideas, but, you know, I wanted to know how she saw the makeup happening in the film. And what I wanted to do and what we agreed to do is kind of have an evolution of looks. They're very subtle, and you know, the makeup's very natural in the movie, but we were going to be using the makeup to sort of hint at Julie Davis, the character that is played by Amanda, to give you, the audience, like subtle hints of what her internal mental state is, because on the outside she's fronting everything's fine, everything's normal, everything's great. And so we really tried to use the makeup as a subtle way to hint at what was really going on. And, you know, I haven't heard a lot of feedback yet, whether, you know, we achieved that, but that was definitely our goal, was to kind of, you know, subtly hint at what was happening inside.
Well, that's one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about, is that you mention it by saying, I haven't heard a lot of feedback about it, right? So what I was thinking about as I'm experiencing the film is like, I was sympathizing with the struggle you must have gone through to not go too far. We always talk about how I'm going to show you how much I'm worth, right? And sometimes that means restraining yourself. And this is a perfect example of that kind of work. And how was that difficult for you, or?
But like having restraints?
Yeah.
The difficult, yes and no. It's difficult because I had the most beautiful canvas. Both Amanda and Finn Whitrock are like just gorgeous human beings, and you just want to like
exactly
play with that.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, they're gorgeous human beings. You don't have to do much to make them look amazing. So, and my natural style is a more, you know, natural, very realistic look. That's kind of how I like to work. So it wasn't difficult, but it was, because I could just play on Amanda's face all day, and she's like, "Are we done? Can I go now?" And so, yeah, it was good for me.
Yeah. How did you test it? Like, because I know that there was the use of bright colors and, you know, everything's fine. And so how did you test like how she would feel and look feeling this way?
We did a camera test right before we started photography. And it was more about the special effects than it was about the makeup looks. That was a little bit on the fly.
Okay.
We just did it.
Sure.
But we did have a camera test because, you know, there was scarring that we needed to do. And we spent a lot of time figuring out like how big, how intense, how bright, how is it going to look on camera? And that was another part of like our continuity is through the shifts of time, like if this scar is aging, how much, how noticeable do we want it to be? A lot of the movie, it's covered, but they wanted, for like the actor's process, they wanted there to always be something there, even if it was covered up. So that was a big part of our testing process. And then also the camera test of Finn's aging makeup and the facelift injury makeup for the mom. Those were kind of things that we were most concerned about trying out ahead of time and making sure that it worked. We had a very small budget, so everything was like this creative process of like, how can we do this on our shoestring budget and make it look as good as we
What are some hacks or tricks that you used?
Well, the aging makeup, I think, was the most challenging for
Okay.
me, because it was such a big job, and a lot of the movie I didn't have an assistant or a key or anything, so it was just me for most of the movie.
Cynthia, wow.
So it's like trying to do any big special effects thing all by yourself without somebody to like hand you that cup or hold the fan, or that's challenging. And then you don't have somebody who can go watch set while you're spending an hour doing this makeup. So we had to make it, cheap and fast and make it look the best it could. So a makeup artist friend of mine called her when I got the movie, and I was like, I have this problem. I need to do like at least 20 years aging on this gorgeous guy. Do you have any suggestions? Like the cheapest way is, latex stipple, but that's not going to cut it for what we're trying to do here. And she's like, try this product. Am I allowed to name products?
Of course, absolutely. Okay. Yes.
It's Bluebird Aging Stipple. And she's like, it's amazing. Go get that. It'll solve all your problems. And it was a little bit like a miracle godsend, because it goes on like a latex stipple, but once it dries, it doesn't stick to itself. Like latex.
Oh, that's key. Okay.
And it's like a very translucent finish. You barely need to paint it. It was just like, if I didn't have that product, I wouldn't have been able to pull it off. It would have.
Oh my God.
So that really helped.
Wonderful.
And what else do we do? The one of the hacks we did for the scarring is we had actual like 3D transfer scars, but in order, like I said, they wanted to have a scar on her every day that we're shooting for like the psychological reasons.
And was that emotional, developing that scar?
I don't know if it wasn't for me. I was a little more scientific about it.
Yeah.
They had a doctor who kind of like gave some input, like, that's too big or too small, or, it would be this way, not that way. So that was very helpful.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it was super, super helpful to have that input from somebody who had, a real experience. Mm-hmm. I will say that when I was doing my research and kind of stumbled down a rabbit hole on the internet of, I guess, I don't know what you'd call it, like self-harming.
Yeah.
There's just a huge amount of content of mostly women and girls who are, self-harming and posting pictures of their scars, or they went through that period of their life and now they're beyond it, but they're, how do they cover up their scars and stuff like that. And that was really a little disturbing for me, because it was like, wow, like I just fell down this rabbit hole. I wasn't looking for this. And that was a little rough, but the actual scars that we ended up doing, so we had 3D transfers that we did, and then in order to kind of shrink our budget down, because those are relatively expensive to have made, we did like tattoo transfers, like the stick 'em on water slide type transfers, so that there was something there and there was something you could see, and it helped with our continuity. I wasn't hand painting it on every day. It was super quick to put on. And I think that saved us a lot of time. And there was always, the scar was there. It was always the same. And whether it was being shown or is being covered up, like we knew it was there and it was on her.
Exactly. Okay. That's really interesting. And then you're doing all of this yourself, reminder.
Yes. I think I had maybe 4 or 5 days in the whole run of the show where we had a budget for an additional helper to come.
Okay.
So it was really hectic at the time. It was challenging.
Yeah. How do you deal with the stamina, keeping the stamina for things like that, for projects like that?
I I'm really selfish with my sleep. Like I try to sleep as much as I can. So if that means like I'm rolling out of bed and into my shoes and going out the door, I'll shower later.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't put that on a podcast, but little hacks like that. And I think since we're talking about real women experiences right now, I feel like when I am working on a project and I'm in that intense mode, my family takes a back seat, and I don't want to say they suffer. That's a little dramatic, but they definitely get shortchanged of my attention because all of my attention is focused on.
Of course. Yeah. So how do you deal with that? That's something that comes up a lot.
So I try in the times when I am home, I try to be really present,
right,
and be there for them. When I'm in between projects, I like to just like have that downtime and do all the mom stuff and make sure I'm going to the concerts and we just had the winter concert for my daughter. So
it's interesting. So the balance that we're always talking about, this magical balance, right? It's not necessarily day-to-day balance. It's like
I haven't been able to achieve day-to-day.
Me either. I know. Yeah. That.
But in the big picture, over the course of the year, was I home more than I was not?
I know if you had a chart, it's like June and July down here, and then the rest of the month. So when you show up big.
Exactly. And that's, June and July is a really good point. Like I do try to take, maybe not the whole summer, but I try to take a lot of time in the summer when my kids are off of school to just be with them and do things and go to the beach and, just be lazy too. And when I'm home, I try to make dinner and I try to sit down as a family for dinner. But it's anyone who tells you that it's like super easy and breezy to work in the entertainment industry and have a family, I just feel like is independently wealthy or lying.
Yeah, definitely. They like have a staff or like live with their family or I know. And then you feel guilty for like the big picture show ups. And then like, I feel like I always am projecting some conversation that my son is having with his therapist. And I imagine him being like, when mom was home, it was great, So how did you find yourself in this industry, Cynthia?
Well, how far back do we want to go?
All the way.
Well, I always loved movies growing up and I always loved makeup. I remember the first time I ever did special effects makeup, I was in, it's probably second or third grade. And I stole a little compacts from my mother's makeup thing. And I went to my best friend, Allison's house, and we went out to her little playhouse thing in her backyard. And I gave her a black eye with the blue eyeshadow.
How did you know to use blue? That was just what you had.
I don't even know what I was thinking. I just remember doing it. Like, I don't even know if I meant to give her like a black eye or whether I was trying to do pretty eyeshadow. And then I was like, screw it. We're just gonna,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I remember trying to clean it, like, once we were done playing, trying to figure out like, all right, how do we get this off now? And, Pond's cold cream was what because that's what my mother used.
Yes. And what do you need to keep in mind in order to have a substantial career? Union for sure. Do you have to know hair? What is some technical,
I definitely don't know hair.
Yeah.
Hair is not my strong suit. In the IATSE union, the hair and makeup are separate crafts. So you don't need, a lot of people do know both or have, a cosmetology license, but they do makeup. But you don't have to. I think it's a little bit hard to get up to the level of being in the union if you don't do any hair. Because I feel like the kind of like non-union, lower paid jobs, they want you to do both. So if you can't do both, you lose the work.
Yep.
So I did a lot of like trying to do hair.
Light hair, right?
Light hair, very light hair. And I had the tools, and I would take, workshops with amazing hairstylists to be like, so how do you do a blowout? Like, how do you curl a person's hair? But yeah, for me, very basic.
Yes.
It never clicked for me. Makeup was where I was at.
I wanted to ask you, I told you this before when we first came on, that my very favorite movie in recent years, We Need to Talk About Kevin, is something that you worked on. And I wanted to ask you what your experience was like on that film. I know it's it's not the most popular movie, where Tilda Swinton is, the mother of a tragic figure. But I wanted to ask you what the experience was like with that film, because I've never spoken to anybody who worked on it.
Yeah. So I was only there as like an additional. I wasn't the department head or key. So I wasn't there like every day or anything. Right. But it was I was also, I think, like 8 months pregnant.
Oh, interesting.
So I very distinctly remember it being very challenging going up and down the trailer stairs, because I had, my set bag on my shoulder, big round belly, and just like my balance was off.
And now your little girl's 11? That's how long ago this was?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
Tilda Swinton is like just earth real, like, I don't even know how to put words to like.
Being in her presence is pretty magnificent. Is it?
She's just like, looks like she doesn't belong on earth. Like she's
an alien.
Not an alien, but like she came down from some like rarefied,
maybe this light beam that's coming in.
Don't live,
yes, this light beam that's coming in from your room. That's where she came from.
Yeah, and her, her performance in that movie is heartbreaking. It's amazing. You've
worked with a lot of women directors, and do you notice a difference? I'm very of the school that like I don't like to distinguish like men versus women directors. I mean, you know what I mean? I like it to just be director and working towards all being equal. Sure. But do you experience any differences on set?
Yeah. So I would say I'll just kind of recap. Which is 2 things that I've noticed working with female directors. It goes one of 2 ways. The first way is, and I think it's maybe because the woman's trying to be
accommodating,
mm-hmm. and they kind of get railroaded by the other, usually male people.
Like
director of photography, the AD or whatever. They kind of, push their ideas instead of allowing the director to express their ideas, which is I find very upsetting and annoying as a woman on set. And it feels like it comes from a very misogynistic place, because it's, they're the director. You should be listening to them. Why are you telling them how it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
But the other thing I've noticed, and this is, usually with the more assertive women, is just there's a different vibe, and it's quieter. And I know this is like a weird thing to say, but there's less shouting, there's less yelling, less, the energy frequency or whatever, like everyone's just calmer and nicer.
Interesting.
And it's not that they're like lazy or not doing stuff. It's just like everybody gives each other their turn to do their bit of the work. And
yes, it sounds like this was the perfect match for you. A Mouthful of Air.
It was really great. The only thing I could have hoped for was, if we had a bigger budget.
Right. But it did not that didn't show,
Thank you.
Yeah.
But, and also, we all want more money all the time, right?
Of course.
It makes life easier. But the flip side of that is like, because we had certain constraints, it also made it like fun, creatively challenging problem solving. So
it increases the team vibe too,
Yeah.
with you and Amanda and the director. It increases that camaraderie.
yeah, like let's get it done together. So yeah, maybe I take that back.
Oh, Cynthia, it was wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for enduring all these technical problems, but we'll make it, just like Amanda's character, we're going to make it look like there was nothing wrong. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait till next week when I will be speaking to Nadia Stacey, so make sure you come back for that. I completely fanned out for Nadia Stacey. I mean, it's borderline embarrassing, but I'm sure you would too. So please come back, and in the meantime, subscribe, share, do all the things, and take care of yourself. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Nicole Tucker, with art design by Kelly Riley. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.